Hey, Angelica, just quickly, you're on mute right now.
Oh, oh wow, I had a whole good morning speech. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. All right, we have some good stuff for you today regarding turning marketing into a recession proof competitive advantage. But before that, we have some housekeeping items to run through. My name is Angelica Cabral. I am a marketing manager at Circante. And I am joined by my colleague, Rich, today. He is one of our CRM and market automation strategists at Circante as well. Before we jump into some housekeeping items, quick special thanks to all of our sponsors. Of course, without you folks, Marjorie would not be a thing. So a huge thank you to our sponsors and partners that have joined us across the world and just making this a really successful event. So housekeeping items, Genius Bar. So we have Genius Bar open throughout yesterday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. You can book a free consultation with an expert if you have any burning Salesforce questions, Pardot questions, Marketing Cloud questions. Our Genius Bar experts can help you out. Head over to the Sponsors and Resource tab right on the navigation bar and click on the Genius Bar booth, which will point you to a Calendly link to book your session. We also have tracks this year organized by products, account engagement, aka Pardot, Marketing Cloud, and Salesforce and Analytics. And lastly, here, yes, everything is being recorded. Sessions will be recorded and shared with you folks at the end of the event. All right. A few other sessions you'll want to tune into today. We have at 11:45 a.m. our Marketing Cloud Account Engagement Product Roadmap. This is the only session that will not be recorded, of course, because it's a product roadmap. We also have a panel discussion, The Road to Email Compliance, with a ton of good attendees that will be speaking their mind on our burning questions we have on email compliance. That is going on at 1:35 p.m. And then we also have 2:50 p.m. Eastern, Leverage Marketing Cloud Engagement to produce positive customer-driven outcomes. All right. And the biggest announcement of all for today's session, we have 3 swag winners from today's specific session. So we're going to want to see you folks engaging in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Let us know what platforms you're using. Are you on Marketing Cloud, Account Engagement, aka Pardot? Again, that is. Let us know what you're using and where you're from. We will announce those winners by the end of this session, so stick around. All right, our goal today, it's simple. We want you to walk away with a roadmap of things to do in order to pivot should times get hard. Recession proof. That's what this presentation is all about today. But none of us have a crystal ball, nor can we predict the future. However, if you do follow some of our best practices, we feel confident that you'll be better equipped to manage hiccups in your marketing journey. Now, about 20 million Americans quit their jobs in the first 5 months of 2020, otherwise known as the Great Resignation. You've probably heard of it. That's a lot of workers leaving their jobs. And this was just the first half of the year. Feel free to use the chat. Let us know if you or somebody in your immediate team has changed jobs in the last year. Many of us are hiring managers and have seen this firsthand, or even consultants have seen this firsthand, working with clients and seeing that transition happen internally as well. It feels like the wild, wild west. At the end of the day, everyone's lives are different, and we know that there are too many factors to take into account. But this is your opportunity to grow, right? Change is an opportunity to grow. Don't panic. Instead, embrace it. If we are clear with our goals and we plan and execute on them with the mindset of moving forward, we grow regardless if we meet those goals the first time. All right, now we have discussed our purpose here. Let's get started with these strategies. I'm going to pass you folks over to my colleague, Rich, to cover how we can continue to get smarter about targeting our audiences and helping produce positive outcomes for you and your business.
Hey there, thanks, Angelica. Great to be here at the start of day 2 of Mar Dreaming. What we're going to look at now is we're going to take a look at one strategy that we can look at, which is audience targeting. So we're going to have a look at what audience targeting should we be targeting and why. The three main breakdowns of this is going to be looking at how we can target top accounts, some retention versus new acquisition methods, and a little bit of a case study. So on targeting top accounts, what we need to think about is if your business has been successful in generating and converting leads, then you may have an established set of clients already. Now, that is a massive positive if you're in that situation, because we can look to target these existing clients and we can look to target our top accounts from them. Now, account-based marketing is all about building relationships. And from that, on those top accounts, we have within there, those top accounts tend to be a large percentage of our revenue. Now, they're also a lot easier to build and manage relationships with because there's often less contacts involved. Okay, so if we're looking at targeting a small subset of our top accounts, improving our relationship with them and building and managing that relationship and nurturing that relationship, there's less contacts for us to have to manage, and we can get to know them better and build those relationships stronger. We also can have a better understanding of your product and offering. So if you're working with them for a long time, or you're working with a small subset of accounts, they are going to have a better understanding of your product and offering because you've been able to build a better relationship with them. And through that relationship, you've been able to discuss your offering more with them and your products with them. A really great thing, and something that we see all the time here at Secante, is you're also able to offer a long-term strategic support to those clients. Now, when you're looking at those top accounts, you've got that relationship that we've mentioned. They know your product and offering. And after that, you can then start to understand their product and their offering and where their issues lie and how you can look to improve them. And what we have there is you then, once you understand what their problems are and what their goals are, you can start to align yourself to support them on that. We also have personalize and customize your journeys and messaging for them. We can use account-based marketing to target these top accounts, and we can therefore start to personalize and customize our journeys because we start to know who they are. Okay. The next slide that we're going to have a look at is retention versus acquisition. Now, this is something that is all drilled into us from very early on in our marketing days. If you're in marketing at all, it's sometimes often easier to retain existing clients rather than acquisition. Now, I want to caveat that quickly and say this might not be a situation for every business, but if we can make our businesses operate like this, it will make them more resilient moving forward. So when we're looking at retention versus acquisition, depending on our business model and the type of products, we can make large savings in time and money. And what we have here is 5 reasons that we should be looking at retention if we can. Existing customers are 50% more likely to try new products. So if you're offering a new product, a new service, any new offering at all there, these existing customers are going to be, I don't want to say guinea pigs because it makes it sound like it's a trial and you've obviously done your testing before that, but they're going to be perfect for you to be introducing these new products and services to because they are more likely to. They've got that relationship with you. They understand your offering. We've also got 82% of companies agree that customer retention is cheaper than acquisition. So therefore, if we're looking at targeting our top accounts, we're looking at maintaining all of our accounts if we can see there that keeping our customers, keeping them happy, keeping them motivated and supporting them on their strategic goals will make it cheaper than acquiring new customers. Next, we're looking at 65% of companies' business comes from existing customers. That in itself is showing us that while going out there and acquiring new business is great. We always have that core fundamental revenue coming from our existing customers. Next, we've got loyal customers spend 67% more than new ones. So looking at those clients we've already got, as we've mentioned before, our relationship building, our alignments of strategy, our product and offering understandings, all of those are going to make our customers more loyal if we can continue to support them, and therefore they're more likely to spend with us. Acquiring new customers can cost up to 7 or 8 times more than retaining old ones. So there alone, that is a great reason on its own to be looking at working with the customers and clients we already have and keeping them within our products. Now we're going to have a look next, and we're just going to jump slightly to this case study. And at Secante, we have a number of different clients who are using account-based marketing and are focused on targeting top accounts. So some of the things they are doing, and this is subshots of some of the clients that we've seen across the board, we're looking at targeting top 100 accounts and subsidiaries. We're looking at how we can integrate and customize those journeys with data enrichment and chatbots, looking at how we can make sure when they're coming in, we're using account-based marketing methods to give a customized journey to our top accounts and nurturing them through, making sure that they know they can always speak to someone if they have an issue or if they need advice or are looking for any kind of interaction at all. And we're also looking at cleaning and building clean and concise data to allow our targeting to occur. So those are some really big, small case study elements that we have there. Next, we're looking at some data-driven strategies. Now, here we're going to be looking at how we can use data to give insights to drive our marketing strategy within our platforms. So firstly, as you can see here, 78% of marketers state they have changed or reprioritized their metrics due to the pandemic. Now, while marketing KPIs saw an increased tracking across the board, customer referral rates, customer acquisition costs, and content engagement saw the biggest year-over-year jumps in adoption. And this is from the Salesforce State of Marketing 7th edition report. What that shows us at a quick glance is that we absolutely, people out there have been reprioritizing their business, and they are using data and metrics more and more to fill those gaps and understandings that they have between how their customers are interacting with them and operating, and how they are able to use that to gain more clients or retain ones they already have. Now, some of the data-driven strategies we're going to have a look at are integrations, UTM and web activity capture, campaign influence, ROI reporting and B2B MA, and some examples that we've seen in action. Now, here, what you can see is we've got some data-driven strategies listed out here. Firstly, we've got integrations. So Marketing Cloud account engagement powered by Pardot and Salesforce has standard integration as one particular platform here. We have additional third-party integration tools that plug into both of these to enhance our data, enhance our processes, and enhance our business. And we also have the use of the Salesforce API to allow us to plug in those that don't have integration tools already built for it. Next, we've got capturing web activity and tracking. Linked to those KPIs we saw before, these are really important for us there. They're going to help us with our tracking pixels. It's going to help with Google Analytics and other tools that capture our web analytics and feed us that information. And we're also going to be having a look at UTM parameters and how we can capture and store those. Those are going to give us indications around some of those metrics of where people are coming in from, how they're coming in, and what interactions they have as part of that journey. We can also look at enhancing that with campaign influence within Marketing Cloud account engagement and Salesforce. So that will allow us to understand our touch points. That's going to help us to automate assignments to campaigns as well as part of that, and also having a look at understanding our channels impact. So those are all going to can be really important as campaign influence. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at ROI and marketing analytics. So our enhanced reporting, so we can actually read and understand that spend versus revenue, and also actually able to go, well, this is all of that data that we've got, but what can we do with it? And that leads on there to shareable insights. So we actually need, it's great having ROI and analytics in place, but unless we have shareable insights with upper management or with ourselves and the rest of our teams to drive our strategy and help us to understand what's working and what isn't, then there's no point in capturing those analytics in the first place. We need to be able to gather insights and make decisions off the back of that. And then lastly, and what is really important here, is understanding our KPIs and making sure that we have clear mapping between what we're actually tracking, what we're having visibility on, the insights we want to make, and actually what our KPIs are. Everything should go back to our KPIs in that situation. Now we're going to have a little look at a case study here of something around UTM capture and campaign attribution for ROI reporting. And this touches all of those elements that we've discussed, right from the Marketing Cloud account engagement and Pardot, looking at how we can actually use that platform and the integrations between that and Salesforce, how we can capture web analytics using UTM parameters with JavaScript from websites to our Pardot forms, using Salesforce flows to pass this information into the right objects and custom objects to track visits, and at the same time using that process to assign it to leads and contacts and to campaigns as campaign members. So that's going to help us with our campaign insights. And then lastly, reports and how we can use and report on campaign influence and ROI. So firstly, the first step is looking at capturing UTM parameters with JavaScript from website to Pardot form. And this is a snapshot of some iframe code that we could potentially use here in order for us to capture the UTM parameters and capture them and pass them from the URL string onto the Pardot form. And this is lifted from a Jenna Mulby article where she goes into some really good detail on this. And we've been using customized versions of this at Secante with our clients as well recently there. The next step is once we've captured those UTM parameters, so breaking them down and capturing our source, medium, campaign, and also terms and content if we need to. We've then got the stage where we can use Salesforce flows to pass this information onto the right objects and custom objects to track our visits. So here you can see there's a UTM touchpoint custom object. We can pass that to, and we can store all of our interactions on that. So we can use that custom object and reference it with our other default objects in Salesforce. The next stage is once we've got that, we can also look at the same time as let's get our leads and contacts onto campaigns as campaign members. The Pardot and Salesforce together have a really fantastic campaign object and campaign attribution where they have a really good way of us understanding our touch points from a marketing perspective. So let's make use of that where we can, right? If we can pick, and here the option here is if we can pick our UTM parameters off of out of those past URL into Pardot fields, into Salesforce. Once we know those on a particular lead or contact, we can use that to assign them as campaign members. And this image here is just a very quick walkthrough of how that would work. And this last slide here is our reports and campaign influence and ROI. Now, what we have here is this is the Secante campaign influence starter pack reporting. And what this is this is a great, you can put this into your org yourselves as well. And what this does is this is a pre-built dashboard with reports in it that allow you to view all of your different campaign influence models that you have if you've activated campaign influence in Salesforce, and it shows you those different touch points throughout there. So that is something that is great there that we can use, that is free to use there. And I'm now going to pass back to Angelica to look at our next sections.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich. Lots of chat engagement. And I think if we were in a real crowd, we would see some head nods going on because people are on the UTMs, they're on the retention. People get it. All right. So we've heard how we can drill down on targeted audiences and using data to drive our marketing strategies. But what about the tools we already have under our belt today? Some of the common things that you're already doing, like emails, maybe nurture programs. So when I think of maximizing tool usage, I think automation, or like some of us Kantians like to call it, auto magic. In this section, we're going to dive into 3 ways your tools can be used to maximize automation. So let's start with this. 73% of customers expect companies to understand their unique needs and expectations. So customers are expecting us to get personal with them. What we see is the demand for personalization growing year after year. And personalization goes way beyond than just having high first name in the email body. It's truly understanding our audience and anticipating their needs in order to deliver the right message. It's sending a message that not only feels personal, but actually is. So let's talk about some ways you can improve your company's personalization today. While we're chatting through this, remember some of the learnings from Rich's section. You'll see them as a common theme. An easy change you can make to start personalizing today is your email subject lines, right? It's the first thing that a customer sees when the email hits their inbox. We know Pardot specifically has that advanced subject line composer. Toss some emojis in there if that makes sense for your business. Toss the company name in there, the industry, something that's going to immediately resonate with them as soon as they see that email in their inbox. On the right-hand side here, you see a screenshot of a prospect's Pardot record with scoring categories highlighted below. I can see that Mr. Bob is really digging our expense management content. So what I'm going to do with this is make sure he receives even more content specifically within expense management in our upcoming nurture campaign. I can do this by using dynamic content variations. Or better yet, I'm going to segment him into an entirely different nurture campaign. That's product focus, that's solution focus, and all of that content, not just dynamic content blocks within the email, but that entire program is based on expense management. Here's another great example. This is also from a client Sercante has worked with. We heard from Rich earlier the benefits of customer retention. We've also seen people in the chat talk about it. This client actually launched a campaign to collect satisfaction reviews, but took it a step further with follow-up emails to continue spreading that word. Dynamic content was also used here for personalization. And you can see the email buttons pointing to Facebook and Google review pages that were specific to that customer's location. Seamless, hassle-free, and personal, continuing to spread that message. Now, moving on to nearly 90% of buyers say experience a company provides matters as much as products and services. And this is true. I can say for myself that I will pay an extra $20 to go to the nail salon that's playing the right music, that's offering a back massage while my nails are drying. And while most of us are not in the business of nail salons, but a way you can improve your customer experience today is through customer journey. For example, a customer has just purchased a product or signed on for a service of yours. What do next steps look like? Is there going to be a 1-week time period before they start onboarding, for example? Do they have to wait 24 hours before they get access to a certain solution? But what do those next steps look like for them? By communicating what that onboarding process is going to look like, and by communicating effectively and clearly with your customer, you provide them the experience. This might even include a multi-channel approach using SMS text messages as well. Just depends on where you think your customers are the right channels to reach them. Even better, we can combine the learnings from our last session, personalization, to really tailor that customer journey. We've heard about some benefits of also focusing on retention. So, how else can we do this within a customer journey? Creating upsell campaigns, right? Now, 60% of customers are open to the use of AI to improve their experiences. This is the last strategy I'll be talking about in this section, which is maximizing our tool usage by leveraging intelligence. Using AI can help us drive the next best actions for our customers, whether it be through predictive analysis on what products or solutions a customer may be a good fit for, or determining top accounts that are likely to convert. This here is Einstein key account identification. Einstein uses a combination of prospect engagement activity, historical data, and actually public web data, believe it or not, to predict the likelihood of conversion. Let us know in the chat if you have these intelligent tools, if you're not aware if you have these intelligent tools today. And if you are you using them to the best of your ability? The main reason why I wanted to include this in today's presentation is because I have worked with clients in the past that don't even realize they have some of these tools, or they do realize it, they're just not using them and they haven't set them up. In most cases, the setup can be pretty simple. It's just getting the strategy behind it, getting it set up, and actually using it for data-driven strategies, as Rich had mentioned earlier. Now, we're switching gears and reviewing our next strategy for building a recession-proof competitive advantage. And our next strategy, when a pivot is needed during your marketing journey, is building strong operational playbooks. Now, if you're not familiar with playbooks, they are a form of documentation that holds your company's defined processes and procedures. I am a big fan of documentation. I know some of my clients are joined in today, and they can probably double opt in to me being a fan of documentation. If they don't have it, I'm creating it for them. The idea here is to get really efficient at the things that we're already doing. Playbooks can also align team members together and quickly get new hires up to speed with processes. So let's move on to a few examples. Does your team focus marketing efforts on nurture programs? Are there approved email templates set up with branding or CTAs that help support trackable KPIs? Remember Rich talking at the beginning of our presentation about, yes, it's great to have those trackable KPIs, but if they're not in a shareable format, what's the purpose? What about landing pages? Does your team know what scripts or tracking pixels need to be on the landing page in order to light up our reports later on? We want to make sure we have the right goal conversions set up so we can actually report on those KPIs later on. And we can't forget about sales and marketing alignment. Is your team equipped with quick playbook references for things like value add pitches or objection handling? It wouldn't be, a community or a dreaming event if we didn't talk about sales and marketing alignment. So don't forget about that. There are playbooks that you can create to talk about things like case studies. It's also content that you can later on recycle and use. These are all really great examples of building strong and operational playbooks to get really good at the things that we're already doing, otherwise known as efficiency. This wraps up my spiel for now, and I will hand it back over to Rich to talk through our last strategy of our session. And then we will be announcing our swag winner, so stay tuned to the end.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you there, Angelica. So now we're going to have a little bit of a look at some learning and development aspects. So firstly here, we're going to be running through some additional resources that you can use, and we're going to be covering these topics: trailheads, marketing-focused user groups, marketing-focused events, and some external support as well. So firstly, we've got Salesforce community building resources. So these are things that Salesforce has provided for us as Salesforce users to really help enhance our experience and our understanding of the platforms. So we've got Trailhead. If you aren't using it already, definitely something to get on with. If you are using it, you probably already know how good it can be at covering some of the many topics that we have. It's definitely going to help us grow as marketers and Salesforce professionals, and it's going to help you at your own pace. We've got the Salesforce community user groups. So those are local hubs for end users to join and discuss around specific marketing trends or products. And then lastly, we've got Salesforce community events. So they've got the Salesforce produces one-day events called World Tours in key metropolitan areas to try and bring the Dreamforce vibe to you. Of course, you've got Dreamforce, and there are other events out there as well around these. Next, we're going to have a look at some marketing specific resources. So here we've got some that that we found that some of the best that are out there. So firstly, you've got the Pardashians, which is the largest Slack group of marketing cloud account engagement experts and end users. It's an incredible community. There are active discussions around marketing, product troubleshooting, and from anywhere and all. No matter what it is, someone has probably done it or is probably having the same issue you are, and that's all in Slack. We've also got the spot for Pardot, little self-plug there from us. That's our blog website where we are experts in blogs around all things MarTech. This is specifically for marketers on Salesforce. There's resources on different challenges, and if you're getting started or looking for expert advice on integrations, there is probably something on there for you. And then lastly, you're obviously here, add it, but make sure it's in the diary for next year as well. And we've got Dreaming. So that's everything Marketing Cloud and Marketing Cloud account engagement in one event, as you've probably experienced already from the last day, and as you will for the next 2 days, I'm sure. It's a great community of people coming together and having different skills, questions, and those sorts of things brought to them. And then our next slide, we've got some external support. So there are sometimes we all need a little bit of help, and there might be things on the App Exchange that provide cool new apps and tools that we can use, new opportunities to have a look at, and consultants, agencies that work in the ecosystem to maybe help other customers like you out, or maybe you just, there's a different app and tool that you need to have as well from there. So outside of that, we then have some different Slack communities to get to know. So these are 3 Slack communities that we say if you can and you wish to, definitely join them. They are going to be helpful resources for you. We've got Pardashians, How to SFMC, and Ohana Slack. And there is easy ways to join them if you go to your sponsors and resources section within this event. And there is a Slack communities to know booth with instructions on how to join. And there are links off to guides of how to join and what you need to do in order to join those. So definitely, if you get the time and you don't, if you've on one of your breaks for 15 minutes, I saw someone post saying, it'd be great to have something to do for 15 minutes. Why not join a couple of user groups, right? And that for our main topic today is a wrap. So we're just going to have a look now and recap together so that you can go away and share with your team or have a look at other things as well. So in summary, things that we've covered off today. We've had 5 key strategies to turn your marketing into a recession-proof competitive advantage. We've covered audience targeting, so how you can upsell and re-engage your existing database. You've already acquired them. Don't let leads pick up dust. Don't let them go into a black hole where they just exist, but no one really knows what's going on with them. We've got data-driven strategies, ways for you to boost your systems with integrations and develop reporting with the end goal of those KPIs in mind, as we mentioned. We've got maximize automation. So Angelica was saying about leveraging your marketing automation and CRM to personalize your messages and gain positive outcomes from all of your interactions that you have. Lastly, or second to last, we've got build strong operational playbooks. So here, documentation, Angelica said it, and I will reinforce that 1,000 times, making sure that we have regularly developed strong documentation around significant processes within our business. We don't know how often someone's going to join and ask, how does that work? Someone, someone might leave and we need to pick up their aspects. There is so many different things in there that documentation is key to understanding. And lastly, we covered off some learning and development. So how we can develop a culture of learning and provide your team with opportunities to share your knowledge around, so that it's all not kept in one hub in your business. And then lastly, when you win, your customers win, right? It sounds cheesy, but it's true. We can create effective marketing strategies in order to provide a consistent customer experience, regardless of the obstacles that come up.
All right. That brings it back to me to announce our 3 lucky swag winners. That are, drum roll, please. And please give me some grace when pronouncing these names. Aaron Kutcher, Rachel Marek, and Thomas Ney. So we will be in touch on a link to get your swag, but you folks are the winners. And just a last thank you. Now we do have some time, so we are going to open it up to live Q&A. So if you folks do have any questions, I saw some things in the QA tab already. There's some things in chat we'll run through. So we're going to kind of go rogue and do some live Q&A. Let's see what we got. Rich, I think there's one you wanted to tackle right away. Is that right?
Yes, there is. Yeah, it's just waiting for my phone to load back in and let me talk again. I was trying to be efficient and maybe too efficient there. Okay, so Erin had a question of, can we share some reasons for using UTM parameters and automation to assign prospects to campaigns versus using form handler and completion actions? So completion actions on form handlers, absolutely great. It's a great, perfect starting block when you're looking to understand and assign people to different campaigns. Now, one of the reasons why that will work absolutely perfectly, they have to do something, completion action will understand that. Now, what we're looking at with UTM parameters, and one of those other aspects there, is not just trying to understand that touch point on a form, as a completion action, but trying to understand every single interaction we can. So trying to populate those UTM parameter fields whenever we have an interaction at all, and using that to assign to different campaigns based on that. So that way it gives us assigning them to the campaign, but also we store up, and the example we gave earlier was a custom object where you store all those touch points. Now, adding someone to a campaign with a completion action, for example, absolutely great, but we only add them to that campaign. They can only be a member of that campaign once. But if we're tracking all those touch points and assigning them to the campaign as well for our campaign influence reporting, but also we're able to store all their interactions. They might interact with that form in this instance or that campaign more than once. And we want to capture all of those touch points, not just the first one. That helps us build out the picture and give a more emphatic understanding of the journey that someone might go through from first interaction to last and closing as an opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Rich. Looks like our man Marcos is pretty good on answering some questions in the chat. Let's see. What else do we got? Had a question on some playbooks. So I can give you folks a really good example on playbooks. So Sercante has an agency that helps clients be wildly successful on the Salesforce platform, sales and marketing teams, we like to say. A lot of what we do is helping the team get set up for success, whether that be through creating nurture programs. And that is a lot of the help that we usually get asked. What we've created is the beautiful Kelly on our team has created a nurture development playbook where we have questions that our clients automatically know that need to be answered during a nurture, right? What is that CTA? What's your main objective? What personalization factors are going into this nurture program? So you're hitting all those top points within that playbook, and you're making sure you're giving your team directions on how to set up those emails to make sure you're not missing out on branding and you're not missing out on personalization or tracking capabilities. Yeah, Marcos mentioned the Drip and Jenna Mulby, and also the Spot are really 3 great resources to find blogs on completion actions, on UTMs, etc. What else do we have here?
I've just seen one from Amir. Hello again, Amir. I know we spoke yesterday in a Genius Bar session, but yeah, what we'll do is we're going to share like the slides and the recording will be shared, so you will have access to that as a better resource rather than it just kind of coming up on the screen here. But they'll definitely be shared with you, no problem there. And then I saw one from Karen is, if I understand correctly, UTMs can help when a webinar attendee signs up for more than one webinar. Okay, so what that would mean, and it depends on how you've structured your campaigns, right? If you're having anyone who attends any webinar, no matter what the topic, is all put into one webinar campaign bucket, then absolutely UTMs will help you track that more because you can store them all those interactions on a custom object. What I would probably advise for you to do, and I don't know if you're doing it at this moment in time anyway, is I would look here to split out, have a one-to-one relationship between your webinars and a campaign. So you could cover most of that with completion actions, absolutely. But the UTMs come into a lot better practice when we're doing things such as form completions. We're able to pick things up from emails, from using custom redirect links, and some other automation that we might be able to build out, and other touch points. But it would be more of, if someone completed a form 3 times, we would only put them into the campaign once, but we might, using UTM parameters and a custom object and that Salesforce flow automation, we would be able to put them into, we would capture all 3 of those touch points and they'd be a member of that campaign. So we could actually say, if it's a contact form for sales, for example, and they haven't been got back to after the first one, they've completed it multiple times, or we'd be able to understand that. Or if they've completed that form 3 times over 3 months, it might be the way that they might be an existing client, and we might be able to pick that up and say, actually, these 3 interactions we want to discount because they're an existing client and this is how they are trying to reach out to us and get us to contact them. We need to introduce and look at, as we were talking before about account-based marketing and looking at audience targeting and going, actually, we need a better way for our clients to interact with us. So I hope that explains that a little bit better for you there, Karen.
Got one more question, Rich. What advice would you give to top 3 pieces of advice you would give to a small team operating efficiently, working together? Top 3 advice.
Okay, top 3 pieces of advice. I would say any manual process, look at, does it need to be manual? Can we automate it? And get that done as soon as we can. That frees up our time to add value elsewhere. Another thing I would look at is documentation, as Angelica mentioned. Mm-hmm. If you've got processes documented, but let's say me and Angelica are the 2 people in the team, and I've been doing one of the tasks and have no documentation on it. If I'm off ill or if I'm out for whatever reason, and if Angelica hasn't interacted with that before, how's she going to know how to do that? So that will help spread the load across the team as well. And lastly, I would say focus on delivering what the business needs. So if you're a small team and you've got finite amount of time, really focus in on what it is that you actually need to deliver. So if your KPIs are to deliver, you need X number of leads a month to deliver into the sales team, just as a quick example there, our entire focus should be as much as possible of our energy and time into going, how can we deliver that number as best as possible? And don't focus on anything else, focus on that and how we can aim towards that. And you'll see with those 3 steps, that might be a really good way to start utilizing your time and resource in a small team better.
Yeah. And I would also add to your first comment on what processes are manual, can you automate them? That is such a dreary thing to look at sometimes for people, right? We're so used to doing these manual steps. And don't get me wrong, sometimes everything can't be automated. But if you take that work to put in a couple of hours on mapping out how can we automate that and spend a couple hours actually setting up those automations, it's going to pay off in the long run. I know it seems like a daunting task to lift, but it will pay off in the long run. We have time. We've got about 10 minutes left, so we're going to keep rolling with these questions. Let's see here. We had a question. We had a good question. Okay, I like this question. We love sharing stuff about Sercante. What is your preferred platform for documentation within Sercante? You want to answer it, Rich, or you want me to take it?
Well, the documentation was your question. I'll let you take one.
I was going to talk about Guru. So I believe the tool is called Guru, but we implemented Guru actually this year just because our team is full of amazing, just people that really know how to use their brain, to put it simply. And our team is so great with documenting every little thing. If there's one solution we implement for a client, we share constantly within our Slack community internally. And then we document it. So, the next person that runs into that issue knows exactly how to troubleshoot or best practices or tips that helped working with their client or working on a particular project. And the tool that we use for that is Guru. It's really cool. You can create different groups of cards. It also has some Google Chrome integrations as well, but that is a tool that a lot of team members have spent a lot of time this year setting up, and it's been one of the most helpful things. It's also how we track a lot of our internal processes as well, whether it be on how to request time off to how to set up a new project or onboard a new client as well. So we definitely use it for a number of things. And again, that tool is called Guru, Guru.
Yeah.
Guru Knowledge, maybe. I don't know if there's anything else along with that, but I know Guru's in it.
Yeah. Okay, I've seen a couple more questions come in. I'm just going to pick one up. So Tobias has asked on UTMs and those parameters, do we split source? Where is that? Do we split source and medium and so on in different fields and add this as a custom object to a campaign member? So what I would do there is, yes, I have a custom field for source, medium, and all of the others, so on, etc., as different custom fields on a prospect in Pardot and on the lead and contact in Salesforce. That way, it's transferable across all of them. And I do then add this and basically stamp those values onto the custom object when this is done. So if we see those have been updated or they've been added to when they were blank before, we stamp them on the custom object. And there are different ways we can do it in different levels. The easiest solution is to directly say, if the UTM campaign is this, pass it to this campaign in Salesforce. And that's the simplest way to do it. You can obviously look at using some code and automation to take a selection of more than one of those, so more than one of those fields, and push that through. And I think that would be another method that you can go down with here. Would love to talk about that more if you wanted to as well off the back of this. But yeah, that's what I would definitely do there.
And then we have a follow-up from Karen. And I want to make sure we close the loop on this one because I want to talk. So, what would be the best way to track all the different webinars a particular prospect has signed up for so we can develop content according to the topics they are interested in? My mind immediately thinks of like child campaigns.
Yes, that would exactly be what I would be doing there. Is I'd be looking at a campaign hierarchy, and I would be looking at using a parent campaign of some kind at some level called a webinar. And within that, we then have, as Angelica said, child campaigns that specify each particular webinar, and we add people to those campaigns as campaign members. We can then use those campaign members to populate different lists in Pardot for us to be able to target and market to. And that's probably one of the best ways there. There are obviously other ways within Pardot that we could do that, but I think that's probably the most efficient. We can always use tags as well. We can use lists in Pardot to move people around depending on exactly what it is that they're looking at. We could be using scoring and scoring categories if we really wanted to around this as well. Basically rolling up those webinar topics into some more of our fundamental product alignments. But I think campaigns is probably the simplest way of doing that.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more coming off of that one, and I like this one.
Okay.
Kevin just submitted, so you probably haven't had a chance to see this though, Rich. So UTMs are quite the buzzword lately, and almost all clients want to track them because they have heard about leveraging them for campaigns, etc. What do you recommend that you set up prior to tracking UTM, since in many cases it is the case of keeping up with the Joneses, or do you really think it's worth jumping right into setting up custom objects, etc., needing to capture this data because that's the way the industry is heading? I think it depends on the tools that you're using.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably the first thing there. So Kevin, that's a great question.
Yep,
Absolutely there. It is a buzzword, and I'll be honest, I've probably looked at setting up this process of some kind for, I think, probably about 6 clients now in the last 3 months alone, as kind of setting up this solution that we've kind of designed and borrowed bits and pieces and enhanced from. What I would be looking at here is if you're doing nothing on it at the moment, there is documentation out there. As I mentioned, we've got some documentation on it. There's a Jenna Mulby article, which is great as an intro for this, of how to track them and move them along. And if you are starting out and you're currently using something like Lead Source, using UTMs to capture and assign people to a lead source, or just capture UTM parameters in the first instance and have it as a first touch, is a great starting point. If you can't go the full hog with automation, if you're not comfortable with Salesforce flows or other automations, tools, then it might be best to just try and capture the first one. Now, as a toe in the water type moment on this, Pardot has the Google Analytics connector. Now, turning that on will allow you to capture, and Pardot and Salesforce, Pardot and Google Analytics will work together there to capture UTM parameters if they are present on the first interaction on our website, or the first interaction where we capture their information and create them as a prospect. That is probably the toe in the water entry level element there. That is, you're going to start to capture them. Now, they won't be captured in custom fields, but they will be captured in Pardot. And there's a section that appears at the bottom right on all of our prospects that will populate that information directly in there. That's a great starting point. You can use that information later on to add to custom objects if you choose to. There is ways that you can update it so you can introduce the other element that kind of I alluded to in this presentation in a bit more detail later on. So you can do this in stages if you so wish. I think you're right. Keeping up with the Joneses is a definite part of this, and it is a buzzword. Those are some elements and levels that I think you could get into with that. I would advise everyone, if they can, if they have the time and the capabilities, or if they need support in it, to reach out and ask, is those UTM parameters are only going to get more and more, and it seems the way that people are going. So you are right. It is talked about at the moment. If you can get onto it, then definitely do. I think it's going to be a way for getting in there and starting to utilize them in any capacity is going to be a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would also add, as Rich would say, some dipping of the toe items that you can start off with is make sure you're actually tracking lead source, right? Make sure you have those hidden fields on your forms to get lead source in, because that's basics to me. And I would say if you're using Salesforce and Pardot, get those connected campaigns set up. Use those forms and completion actions to make sure you're adding them to campaigns, child campaigns as well. That would, if we're talking about levels, those would be two things I would ensure you're tracking correctly before looking at, further UTM integrations. I think use UTM URLs regardless, but make sure you have that lead source data properly updating and connected campaigns set up. All right. We're just shy of 30 seconds here. Last thing, Elena, there are tons of articles that can help you with UTMs in The Spot. It's a blog, The Drip, and Genomobia as well. All right, folks, it's going to cut us off. We've got about 20 something seconds. Thank you so much. You folks have been great. Great chat engagement. I had our team in there answering questions too. We've really enjoyed answering your questions. And if you need anything else, feel free to private message us, and we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the day.